The once famed four-star general, Evelyn Hart, stood silently at the edge of the military base, her reflection trembling in the glass of her old command jeep. Only months ago, soldiers saluted her, medals shone brightly on her chest, and the sound of marching boots echoed her authority. Now, stripped of her stars, she felt like a ghost walking among the ruins of her past. Her name was whispered behind her back, the woman who made one bad call that cost lives. The news painted her as cold, careless, unfit to lead. In reality, she'd made a decision to save civilians at the cost of her career. No one cared about the why, only the failure. She carried the weight of it like chains wrapped around her soul. She sold her house, moved into a small apartment near the outskirts, and tried to disappear, until one night, fate placed her in the path of a man she would never forget. At the community center, Evelyn arrived for a part-time night shift, hoping to make ends meet. The place smelled faintly of disinfectant and coffee, where the forgotten of society gathered. She noticed a janitor mopping the hallway, humming softly to himself. His clothes were faded, but his posture was upright, calm, almost proud. "Evening, ma'am," he said with a warm smile, not recognizing who she was. His name tag read Sam Carter. Something about his voice carried a quiet strength, the kind she once commanded in soldiers. Evelyn nodded but said little. She had forgotten how to speak to people without giving orders. He didn't ask questions, didn't judge. Just smiled and continued cleaning as if her presence was nothing extraordinary, and that, in itself, was extraordinary to her. Night after night, they crossed paths. Sam always greeted her with the same calm tone, sharing stories about his daughter, Lily, who was 9 and loved to paint stars on the walls of their small home. Evelyn listened quietly, almost envious of the joy that radiated from him despite his simple life. One evening, as rain poured outside, the power went out. The hallway turned pitch black, and Evelyn froze, memories of battlefield nights flashing before her eyes. Sam's flashlight clicked on instantly. "Hey, it's all right," he said softly, noticing her trembling. He guided her to a chair, his hand steady and gentle. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt safe in someone else's care. The man who mopped floors had the presence of a leader, not in rank, but in heart. Evelyn tried to keep her past buried, but one morning, while she was fixing a supply shelf, a framed photo slipped from her bag, her in uniform, surrounded by troops. Sam picked it up carefully. His eyes widened. "You're General Hart," he said quietly. She froze. That name felt like a curse now. She muttered. She expected him to step back, maybe judge her, like everyone else. But Sam just nodded. "Then thank you for your service," he said sincerely, handing back the photo. No hesitation, no pity. Just respect. That moment shattered the wall she'd built around her heart. He didn't see a disgraced officer. He saw a person who had carried the weight of duty. And for the first time, Evelyn's chest ached with something she hadn't felt in years: hope. As weeks passed, Sam and Evelyn began talking more. She learned that he'd once been an engineer, but after his wife passed away, he took the janitor job to spend more time with Lily. "Life's not about what we lose," he told her one evening. "It's about what we choose to build next." His words echoed in her mind for days. That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She found herself standing at her window, staring at the city lights, thinking of all the soldiers she couldn't save, and the lives she still might. Sam's resilience made her realize that maybe, redemption wasn't about restoring her stars, but about using her strength to help others rise again. One afternoon, Sam brought Lily to the center after school. The little girl ran down the hall with a sketchbook in hand. "Hi, are you the soldier lady?" she asked eagerly. Evelyn blinked, surprised. Lily flipped open a page showing a drawing of a woman in uniform with wings behind her. "That's you," she said proudly. Evelyn felt tears sting her eyes. "I don't have wings, sweetheart," she whispered. "You used to," Lily said simply. That small, innocent sentence pierced through Evelyn's guilt like sunlight breaking through clouds. From that moment, she started volunteering to teach leadership and self-discipline to struggling teens at the center. Her voice, once filled with orders, now carried warmth and purpose. Word spread quickly. Kids who had dropped out of school started returning to attend Miss Evelyn's classes. Sam watched her transform, the the same way she had once inspired soldiers. He saw her guiding young people, teaching them courage, strategy, and honor. One evening, as the sun set behind the cracked windows, Sam told her, "You've got your command back, just looks different now." Evelyn smiled faintly, realizing he was right. She wasn't leading troops anymore, she was leading hearts. Weeks turned into months, and the community center began to change. The walls that once echoed with silence now rang with laughter and purpose. Evelyn found herself staying late, helping kids write resumes, preparing them for interviews, or simply listening to their fears. She realized that leading didn't always mean commanding, sometimes it meant just being present. Sam often cleaned quietly in the background, watching her with admiration that he never spoke aloud. He saw in her what many couldn't, not a fallen general, but a woman reborn from ashes. Every time she smiled, he felt his heart heal too, as though her redemption was becoming his own. Life had carved deep scars in both of them, yet those scars began to look less like wounds and more like maps leading them toward each other. One evening, Evelyn found Sam sitting alone in the break room, staring at an old photograph. It showed a young woman with bright eyes, his late wife. "You miss her," Evelyn said softly. Sam nodded. "Every day, but Lily reminds me that love doesn't end. It just changes shape." His words lingered like a soft melody. Evelyn looked at him, realizing she had never allowed herself to grieve properly. She had buried her pain beneath duty and discipline, pretending she didn't bleed like everyone else. But sitting there, across from a man who had lost everything and still smiled, she felt something stir inside, a reminder that strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about learning to stand again. One rainy morning, Evelyn arrived early and saw Lily sitting on the steps, crying. Her art supplies were ruined, soaked from the storm. Without hesitation, Evelyn knelt beside her and covered her with her own jacket. Together, they spread out the wet papers, trying to save what they could. Sam arrived moments later, worry flashing in his eyes. "She's fine," Evelyn assured him. "Just a bit of bad luck." Lily sniffled. "It's not bad luck," Evelyn said, smiling softly. "It's just life testing your patience." She helped Lily redraw her stars, and together they painted new ones. That night, Evelyn realized she wasn't just helping them, they were healing her in return. But peace never lasts without challenge. One evening, the center's funding was cut. The board decided to shut it down, calling it unprofitable. Evelyn felt her stomach sink. Everything they'd built, every soul they'd lifted, all at risk of being erased. Sam looked defeated, his broom leaning against the wall like a soldier's. "Broken rifle. We can't just give up," Evelyn said firmly. "We fight for this place." For the first time since her military days, she felt fire in her veins again. The mission was clear. She began organizing community fundraisers, writing letters, even reaching out to local officials. But every door seemed to close in their faces, until she made one final, desperate decision. Evelyn sold her last medal. The one she had sworn she'd keep forever, a symbol of her honor. She used the money to keep the center's lights on for one more month. When Sam found out, he was speechless. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Yes, I did," she replied. "Because this place saved me before it saved anyone else." Tears welled in his eyes, not just for the sacrifice, but for the truth in her words. For Evelyn, it wasn't about redemption anymore, it was about giving others what she once lost, purpose. The town began to notice. Local papers wrote about the fallen general, who was rebuilding lives. Donations started pouring in. People from every background, soldiers, parents, students, came together to help. The community center was no longer just a building, it was a heartbeat. Sam often stood by the door, watching Evelyn command the chaos with grace, organizing volunteers, assigning tasks, just like the general she once was, but with softer eyes. For the first time in years, she wasn't haunted by her past. She was proud again, not because of medals, but because of meaning. One night, when the last of the volunteers had gone home, Sam found Evelyn sitting on the floor, tired but smiling. "You did it," he said quietly. She shook her head. "We did it." The air between them felt heavy, charged with emotions neither dared to name. "You changed this place," he whispered. Evelyn looked at him, her voice trembling. "No, Sam, you changed me." Silence hung for a long moment before he reached out and held her hand. In that touch, there were no ranks, no titles, just two broken souls who had learned to rebuild each other. Months later, Evelyn received a letter. It was from the military board, an official apology. They had reopened her case, acknowledging that her decision had saved hundreds of civilians. Alongside the letter was an offer. Her rank could be reinstated. She sat frozen, staring at it for hours. The stars that had once defined her were within reach again, but when she looked around, at the photos on the wall, at Lily's drawings, at Sam's tools, she realized something. She didn't need those stars anymore. She had already earned brighter ones in this small center, painted by a little girl who saw wings where the world saw failure. Evelyn declined the reinstatement. Instead, she wrote back, thanking them for the recognition but explaining that her mission had changed. She wanted to lead from the ground, not from an office. The military press tried to interview her, to make her a symbol of resilience, but she refused the spotlight. True leadership, she told Sam, doesn't need applause. It needs compassion. Her story spread anyway, inspiring countless others who had fallen from grace to start again. She had become a silent legend, a leader of the unseen. The following year, the community center was renamed Hart House, in her honor. On opening day, Lily unveiled a mural, a woman in uniform standing among stars, holding a mop like a sword. Everyone laughed, including Evelyn. "You made me look taller," she teased. "That's because heroes are," Lily replied. Sam stood beside them, smiling through tears. He had never imagined his quiet life would intertwine with a general's story, but fate had a way of pairing broken hearts that fit perfectly together. As time passed, Evelyn and Sam became inseparable. They didn't rush love, it grew. Quietly, like dawn sneaking over a battlefield. They shared dinners, laughter, and moments of silence that said everything words couldn't. Lily adored Evelyn and often called her Captain Mom. Evelyn pretended to be annoyed but secretly cherished it. The woman who once led thousands now found her greatest command was over two hearts, and that was enough. One summer evening, they organized a camp for underprivileged kids. Evelyn stood before the crowd, teaching discipline, teamwork, and courage. Sam watched from the sidelines, pride swelling in his chest. She spoke not as a general, but as someone who had walked through loss and found light. The children hung onto every word. When she finished, the applause thundered through the park. Sam whispered to himself, "That's my general," and smiled. Life found rhythm again. Evelyn spent her mornings helping veterans, her afternoons at the center, and her evenings with Sam and Lily. She often thought about destiny, how strange it was that losing everything had given her so much more. She had no stars on her shoulders now, but she had stars in her home, her students, her community. Each one reflected a piece of her heart she'd once thought was gone. Then one day, Sam collapsed during work. The doctors said it was his heart. Evelyn sat by his hospital bed, holding his hand tightly. "You can't leave us, soldier," she whispered, tears falling freely. He opened his eyes weakly and smiled. "I'm not going anywhere. You taught me how to fight, remember?" He squeezed her hand faintly before drifting back to sleep. That night, Evelyn prayed, not like a soldier, but like a woman begging the universe to spare the man who had saved her from herself. Days passed, and Sam recovered slowly. When he finally returned home, the entire community greeted him with cheers. Evelyn helped him walk inside, where Lily had painted a new mural, this time of their family standing beneath glowing stars. Sam looked at it and whispered, "Guess we're all generals now." Evelyn laughed through her tears. She realized that love had given her something no rank ever could, peace. Years later, as Lily grew up and the center flourished, Evelyn often sat by the window, writing letters to soldiers and families who had lost loved ones. She never mentioned her title, just signed every letter, with strength and hope, Evelyn. She wanted them to know that even the strongest fall, but rising again is the truest victory. On the 10th anniversary of Hart House, the mayor honored her publicly. As the crowd applauded, Evelyn looked out and saw Sam and Lily beaming in the front row. She saluted them, not as a soldier, but as a woman grateful for the ordinary man and his daughter who had rebuilt her heart when the world had taken everything else. As the sun set that evening, Evelyn stood outside the center, watching children play and laughter fill the air. Sam walked beside her, his hand slipping into hers. "Funny," he said, "how everything changes in seconds." She smiled softly. "Yes, 1 second, one person, one act of kindness, that's all it takes to turn a life around." Together, they looked up at the sky where countless stars shimmered, each one a reminder that even when life strips you of everything, love and purpose can still make you shine brighter than ever.